Jesus predicted in the Olivet Discourse that a pronounced increase in the frequency and intensity of earthquakes would occur just prior to his return to the earth. Now if you live in the Pacific Northwest, you might want to consider moving after seeing the new scientific report which predicts that a mega-earthquake will kill thousands and destroy a sizable portion of the Pacific Northwest. Even more disturbing, it's overdue. The New Yorker reported that FEMA calculations show these types of earthquakes happen at regular intervals in this specific part of the world, roughly every 240 years. Michio Kaku, the physicist and professor at City College of New York, told Fox News Today that the troubling article doesn't overstate the danger. The Cascadia fault is an earthquake waiting to happen, Kaku stated. We know it's going to happen with an energy 30 times the maximum energy of the San Andreas fault. He added that before the megaquake actually hits, there is a compression wave that is detected by animals. Animals start to act very strange. We've seen that happen before earthquakes, Kaku said. And then, the minute 2 minutes later, boom. In Matthew 24:7-8 it says, "For nation will rise up against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famine, and earthquakes in various places. All these events are the beginning of birth pains." In the deeply reported article for The New Yorker, Catherine Schultz tells the tale of how this fault lies dormant for periods of 243 years, on average, before unleashing monstrous tremors. The Pacific Northwest is 72 years overdue for the next quake, which is expected to be between 8.0 and 9.2 in magnitude. At the upper end of that scale, Schultz notes, we would experience the worst natural disaster in the history of North America. The major 2011 earthquake in Japan was a 9.0, killing more than 15,000 people. The Federal Emergency Management Agency FEMA already has an emergency response plan for when this earthquake hits. Parts of FEMA's quake expectations are truly terrifying. As Schultz writes, FEMA projects that nearly 13,000 people will die in the Cascadia earthquake and tsunami. Another 27,000 will be injured, and the agency expects that it will need to provide shelter for 1 million displaced people, and food and water for another 2.5 million. When the quake does occur, its severe effects and the impacts of the following tsunami, it will look like the whole ocean, elevated, overtaking land, will be felt all the way from Canada to Sacramento, in densely populated cities like Seattle and Portland. What's more, the Pacific Northwest is not earthquake ready. Buildings aren't retrofitted properly and there aren't many effective emergency warning systems or escape plans in place. The aftermath will be devastating. Schultz writes, by the time the shaking has ceased and the tsunami has receded, the region will be unrecognizable. Kenneth Murphy, who directs FEMA's Region X, the division responsible for Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Alaska, says, our operating assumption is that everything west of Interstate 5 will be toast. Oregon legislators requested the study so they could better inform themselves about what needs to be done to prepare and recover from such a giant natural disaster. The report says that geologically, Oregon and Japan are mirror images. Despite the devastation in Japan, that country was more prepared than Oregon because it had spent billions on technology to reduce the damage, the report says. Jay Wilson, the Commission's vice chairman, visited Japan and said he was profoundly affected as he walked through villages ravaged by the tsunami. It was just as if these communities were ghost towns, and for the most part there was nothing left, said Wilson, who works for the Clackamas County Emergency Management Department. But of course, people will only believe it when it is on the news instead of just believing Jesus.